The next day, it happened again. And things took another turn 2 days later when Victoria's best friend, Cephia, stopped by for a visit. As Cephia sat down, Raphael unexpectedly grabbed her hand, kissed her arm, and pulled her closer. Before she could react, he leaned in and kissed her. What followed left her stunned, yet she didn't resist. They found themselves on the living room sofa, caught up in the moment. Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into another chilling real-life story that reminds us just how unpredictable and shocking the world can be. This time, the tale takes us to the city of Santiago in the Philippines. What makes this story so fascinating is how unique and beyond belief it truly is. So, what's the full story behind this bizarre case? Stick around as we unravel the details and take a deeper look into what really happened. Let's get started. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, share this story with your friends. It's a story you'll want to talk about. Now, let's get into it. This story takes us to Santiago City, Philippines, where a woman named Angela lived a life full of promise and challenges. Born in 1988, Angela was the only daughter of Mr. Fernando, a widower who placed her education above all else. Smart, ambitious, and a graduate of the University of La Salette College, Angela was the pride and joy of her father. In 2014, life changed when Mr. Fernando remarried. His new wife, Victoria, was a social butterfly who loved dancing and hosting gatherings. Known for her sharp household management skills, she also had a knack for meddling in other people's business, making many tread carefully around her. Sadly, in 2015, Mr. Fernando passed away due to liver disease, leaving Angela behind to navigate life with her stepmother. At the time, Angela was building her career, working for an oil company owned by a UAE-based businessman. Now, she found herself living alone with Victoria and inheriting the wealth her father left behind. Angela had been in a steady relationship with Raphael, a man she met in college, for 4 years. 3 years her senior, Raphael had grown up in an orphanage and was known for his hard work and dedication. He worked as a technician at a copper processing company and had proposed to Angela while her father was still alive. Angela had always dreamed of her father walking her down the aisle, so his absence weighed heavily on her. The couple had big plans to marry in early 2016, and everything seemed on track. Invitations were sent out, and excitement was in the air. But in March 2016, tragedy struck. While playing soccer with colleagues out of town, Raphael was involved in a terrible accident. 2 people lost their lives, and Raphael narrowly survived. Although his life was spared, he sustained severe injuries, including damage to his eyesight, which required intensive medical care. The wedding, originally set for April, had to be postponed. It was a difficult decision, especially since the invitations had already gone out. Months passed, and Raphael's recovery was slow. The uncertainty caused their wedding plans to stall. Angela's stepmother, Victoria, suggested they go ahead with the ceremony despite Raphael's condition, arguing that his treatment could continue afterward. "You can't cancel your wedding just because he's having trouble seeing," she said. After much deliberation, Angela agreed. In October 2016, they held a simple wedding. Angela was 28, and Raphael, 31, still blind but determined to move forward with their lives. But life didn't get any easier. Raphael's treatment turned out to be long and complicated. 2 months after their wedding, Angela faced a tough choice. Her company offered her a 3-month assignment in Abu Dhabi, UAE, as the spokesperson for their Philippine branch. It was a career-defining opportunity, but Angela was torn. She worried about leaving Raphael behind, especially since he was struggling emotionally. The accident had left him with a deep sense of loss, and he cried often, wishing he could see again, return to work, and fulfill his role as a husband. The idea of Angela leaving during his time of need felt unbearable to him. On the other hand, Angela knew that declining the assignment could jeopardize her career. Her loyalty, integrity, and performance were under scrutiny. If she refused, she risked being seen as unreliable, something that could cost her the job she had worked so hard for. After weeks of back-and-forth discussions, the couple made a difficult decision. Angela would take the assignment, but only for 3 months. During her absence, Raphael would stay with his mother-in-law, Victoria, who would care for him. The hope was that by the time Angela returned, there would be some progress in his treatment, particularly with his eyesight. After his wife left on December 9, 2016, Raphael stuck to his therapy routine. With his mother-in-law by his side, they shuttled between doctors, not just at one hospital but 2, plus clinics specializing in vision problems. Victoria, his mother-in-law, often found him crying in the bedroom or the living room. Sometimes, his frustration boiled over, like when he was relearning how to walk from the terrace to the kitchen and would bang into tables. He got upset when he broke a glass or slipped in a bathroom while trying to clean up. He'd even snap at his wife over the phone, demanding she come back home. He felt lonely, trapped in darkness, and craved moral support. But the moment his wife said, "All right, I'll come back," Raphael would quickly tell her not to, reminding her to focus on her work. It was a roller coaster of emotions. In the end though, practicality won out. Money came first. By mid-December, Victoria decided to shake things up. She took Raphael to a nightclub to let off some steam. Who says blind people can't have fun? They soaked in the music, sipped some drinks, and even hung out with a friend named Sifia, who had suggested the outing in the first place. Sifia understood how stressed Raphael was about his condition and told him, "Don't waste your life on regrets. Doctors need time to help you. In the meantime, have some fun. Dance, chat, sing. Enjoy yourself while waiting for Angela to come back." After that night, Raphael couldn't stop asking about Sifia. "Invite her over. She's fun to talk to," he told Victoria. Eventually, she gave in, and the 3 of them began hanging out regularly. Turns out, Victoria and Sifia had been friends for 15 years, back from their party days before Victoria married Angela's father. Sifia, a widow with 6 grandchildren, had a free-spirited lifestyle. She loved her independence, had plenty of money, and did whatever she pleased without her kids nagging her. Raphael found her personality refreshing. Her visits made his days brighter and less lonely. Sifia even encouraged Victoria to keep him engaged. She brought over special toys for blind people, chess sets and Uno cards. And it worked. Raphael enjoyed playing and chatting with them. When he was tired, he'd head to bed without much time to dwell on his situation. To keep him from spiraling, Victoria and Sifia sometimes screened calls from Angela. They noticed that after talking to his wife, Raphael would often break down, saying how much he missed her or asking when she'd come home. The tears would follow shortly after. So, to protect his fragile mood, they avoided letting him take those calls unless it was really necessary. On December 29, 2016, while being helped to undress before taking a shower, Raphael suddenly pulled his mother-in-law's body and kissed her deeply on the lips. This was not rejected by Victoria, as it seemed that they were both lonely and thirsty for caresses. This only made the 2 people more immersed and managed to release their pent-up desires. Raphael felt that his mother-in-law was even more attentive than his wife in taking care of his daily needs. That's why he crushed his mother-in-law's lips as an outlet after being left at work by his wife for 3 weeks. In fact, this also happened the next day. 2 days later, when Sifia stopped by the house, Raphael suddenly grabbed Sifia's palm, kissed her arm, and pulled her close. Before Sifia could say anything, Raphael was already holding her mother-in-law's best friend, and they were having sexual encounters on the living room sofa. Victoria's mother also saw this, but Victoria remained silent. Her son-in-law needed a refresher. Away from his wife, the turmoil of his desire must have been rumbling, and he men had to let it out and channel his desires to keep from getting dizzy. A few days later, Victoria and Sifia took turns serving the blind man's desires. Actually, they were both happy because they both felt good. On the morning of January 6th, Angela called her husband, Raphael, which instantly set him off. The argument started with him snapping about how she always ignored his calls. Then things escalated when Angela mentioned that her overseas work assignment was being extended from 3 months to 5 months. That news made Raphael absolutely lose it. Furious, he yelled at Angela, telling her not to bother coming home at all. And then, in a fit of anger, he dropped a bombshell confession. He'd been having an affair with her mother, Mrs. Victoria. Yep, you read that right. Her mother. Angela was devastated. She broke down in tears, exhausted from working herself to the bone while her husband was fooling around with her mom. But despite the heartbreak and betrayal, Angela decided to stick it out and finish her work assignment in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Her job wasn't wrapping up until April 2017, so she still had a long time before she'd be back home. A few days later, Angela's best friend, Diana, showed up at Raphael's house. Angela had sent her to check on the situation, probably knowing things were messy back home. Diana wasted no time confronting Raphael, bringing up everything Angela had told her, including the affair with Mrs. Victoria. But instead of feeling ashamed, Raphael was livid. He couldn't believe Angela was sending people to meddle in their private problems. If she cares so much, why doesn't she come home herself? He yelled. Mrs. Victoria wasn't having it either. She chased Diana out of the house, screaming and waving a frying pan. Diana didn't stick around to argue, she bolted. Fast forward to January 21, 2017. Everything took a dark turn. Raphael and Mrs. Victoria received a shocking phone call from the police, asking them to come to the General Hospital in Santiago City, Philippines, to identify a body. When they arrived, along with Victoria's friend, Sifia, they were horrified to discover that the lifeless body in the morgue was Angela. Investigators revealed that Angela, just 29 years old, had been killed after a heated argument with her lover, a man named Megwal. He was an office colleague of Angela's who had smothered her during their fight at a hotel in Santiago City. Authorities had already arrested Megwal. But here's where the story takes an even crazier twist. Turns out, Angela wasn't just the victim in this tangled mess. Raphael and the family learned that Angela had been hiding some major secrets of her own. She had lied about her work assignment in Abu Dhabi. She had never even been sent overseas. For the past year, Angela had been carrying on a secret relationship with Megwal, a 44-year-old man who already had 5 kids. He had promised to leave his wife for Angela, but that never happened. And while Angela had married Raphael, who was disabled and dependent on her, she was living a double life with Megwal. Back in early December 2016, Angela told everyone she was planning to leave the country. But the truth? She never left Santiago City. Instead, she rented a small house so she could secretly meet up with Megwal. She even kept going to work as usual. Since her husband, Raphael, and her mother-in-law, Mrs. Victoria, never bothered to check up on her and fully believed her story about moving to Abu Dhabi, the whole plan went off without a hitch. Angela's real reason for staying hidden? She didn't love Raphael and didn't want to take care of him. He was blind, and the effort of being his caretaker just didn't interest her anymore. To make matters worse, Angela used her best friend Diana as a pawn in her scheme. She had Diana checking in on Raphael under the pretense of being in contact with Mrs. Victoria. Angela even went so far as to send Diana photos of Abu Dhabi she'd pulled straight off Google to keep the charade going. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing on Megwal's side. According to his lawyer, his wife and brother-in-law had discovered his affair with Angela and were threatening to report him to the authorities. That's when he decided it was time to cut ties with Angela. His wife even found out about the house he'd rented for their secret rendezvous, so he and Angela started meeting at hotels instead. The situation hit a boiling point on the night of the incident. Angela told Megwal she was pregnant, and the baby was his. But Megwal wasn't convinced. He argued it could just as easily be Raphael's child. Angela, however, insisted it was his and demanded that he leave his wife and marry her. She even promised to leave Raphael if Megwal would commit to her. But Megwal wasn't having it. He wanted to stay with his wife and kids, which only fueled Angela's anger. Things got ugly when Angela threatened to go to Megwal's brother-in-law with the news of her pregnancy. Panicked and overwhelmed, Megwal snapped and attacked Angela, ending her life in the process. The aftermath was a whirlwind of revelations and consequences. In court, Deanna testified about Raphael's affair with Mrs. Victoria and her friend, Cephia, leaving Raphael deeply embarrassed. He publicly apologized, claiming he had lost control of everything in his life. He admitted his mistakes and accepted that Angela's actions, while hurtful, were part of a larger mess they had both contributed to. By July 19, 2017, the Santiago Municipality Superior Court handed down its verdict. Miguel was found guilty of intentionally killing Angela and for their affair. The 45-year-old man was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving 20 years. His wife divorced him, and he was barred from seeing his children. As for the others, Mrs. Victoria and Cephia were convicted of misconduct and sentenced to 4 months in prison each. Raphael also faced consequences, but, because of his blindness, he was sent to a rehabilitation center for people with disabilities. That center eventually became his new home, where he found purpose working as part of the teaching staff. In the end, everyone involved faced the fallout of their actions. It was a tangled web of betrayal, lies, and regret, but also a harsh reminder of how destructive secrets and selfishness can be. What lessons can we learn from this story?